Hi guys, this is Carolina Varsity. We're in our 2015 season. We're at round two, and we got a real big second round playoff game in the 4A playoffs. Number six Mallard Creek going over to play number three Butler. I'm Dale Ross.
And I'm Matt Marta Pitman. Me and Brandon will be at this game this Friday night. So let's take a look at it here. Mallard Creek won the first matchup, obviously 24-10. That game told us a lot about Butler, though. That let us know Butler was not going to be as down as some people felt they were coming into the
Right.
season. And obviously that's been played out with the way that they've played for most of the season here.
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams are better than they were back then. I think for Butler, they're going to have to use some spread formations to loosen up the box to help their offensive line block in the run game for LeMay. Looking at that game last time, but when Butler went to spread formations, Mallard Creek was in a seven-man box and sometimes a six-man box.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have to get those similar type of looks in order to have some success running the football because they're going to have to be balanced. They got to be balanced in this game. They're going to, get this victory. They also hit a couple deep balls in that first game, but that was before Mallard Creek made the adjustments to their secondary,
Right.
and starting with the Vance game.
Right.
So can Butler be able to hit those same opportunities down the field with Curitan and Duck in the passing game?
Right.
They have got to get those to keep that defense loose. Um, Got to, of course, get LeMay in some space and use the defensive line that Mallard Creek has against them. That penetration that they like to get so much.
Mm-hmm.
Screen game is a big, big deal there.
Right.
Receiver screens, the screens with LeMay, things of that nature. You got to be able to hit on a couple of those to keep them honest. For defense, Butler has been strong all season long. I think the defensive line is going to have to maintain gap integrity when Mallard Creek wants to run the ball inside. If anyone goes into a wrong gap or gets turned or a double team is able to come off second level, Mallard Creek is going to be able to get yardage
Right.
and stay on schedule and control the ball game that way in the run game. Um, they have to maintain that integrity to allow those linebackers to come downhill and fill, which they do very well at Butler, led by Christian Dixon. They can't give Smith easy throws. Does that mean man coverage? I think you got to mix it up a little bit. Some man coverage. I think man coverage on early downs, maybe mix in some zones on third and long situations. Can't let him get comfortable in his reads. Um, Defensive backs have got to attack the football in one-on-one situations on the outside. Mallard Creek has a height advantage in their receivers, especially when they split Moss out and Jones
Yep.
on the other side. If you got Curitan on one corner and Duck could be playing some corner, could be playing some safety. He might move around some, but either way, the height advantage is there for Mallard Creek to make plays in jump ball situations. So Butler DBs have to be aggressive if they're one-on-one in those situations there. Mallard Creek, I think you got to bring the heat on early downs, try to force Butler in the third and long situations, make Cheek be the one to beat you from the pocket in those situations. When you're bringing heat, everyone's not coming. The guys that aren't coming got to have eyes on LeMay. You got to make sure he doesn't break loose and get a big play on a screen or a swing pass or something like that. Offensively, Mallard Creek has to impose their will, like Paul Mary mentioned to you.
Yep.
And then I think once you impose your will in the downhill run game, you get Smith involved in the run game off of that on bootlegs and zone read type of plays. A couple of design runs to get him into the game before you start making him make throws down the field in the passing game. Let him get into the game, get comfortable, get some confidence. Then he'll throw the ball with confidence, and then Mallard Creek will be ready to go offensively.
Yeah, my thoughts are that for Mallard Creek on a defense, their front four at least needs to apply pressure early and try to control that line. This is getting to one playing that kind of football that Palmieri said he wanted to play, which is smash mouth. I think they can be successful there if they can. You mentioned the over pursuit and how Butler can counter that, but I believe when we look at the lines, that's probably an advantage there for Mallard Creek on defense, and they've got outstanding linebacker play themselves.
Right.
Josh Brown can play linebacker for me any day of the week. Love to have him. So he's as good as any out there. So I think that's going to be very important as far as to applying pressure on Cheek and making it tougher for him and making it tougher for that pass game to have opportunity. Obviously, things that they did in the first game are going to be different now. I think it's going to be tougher to attack the Mallard Creek secondary than it was in that first game. Jones has really stepped up as a guy in that secondary that can play true good lockdown. So that's going to be a lot. I think that's going to be a lot more difficult. But not just in the screens and all, but even in some of the runs can be designed against that pressure. And LeMay can find lanes very quickly, especially if you're running opposite the what you're expecting the penetration to be. That can be very, very dangerous, and LeMay can be very dangerous in that area. It's going to take more than one hit to take him down. He's a pretty strong kid, so if you do apply that pressure, even in the run game, he can still get to the second level.
Right.
So that it's important to not allow that. And another one of those things about getting that penetration is you are allowing, in many cases, those linemen to get down into your second level blocking. So I always like to try to keep the linemen off my linebackers, let my linebackers make the play.
Right.
That's the way I like to see it. But I think there is maybe a strength advantage on that defensive line that you got to find ways to employ that. Butler's going to have to find ways to keep them off balance and keep that, maybe try to get that defensive line a little bit more on their heels than coming at them so much.
Right, exactly. You got to make them think.
Exactly.
If they got some kind of trap or something, I believe Butler used to run a trap a good bit. I hadn't seen it the times I've seen him this year, but I think that's something you do against aggressive D lines. They trying to shoot upfield, trap them inside, or trap the end off tackle, and get some yardage that way.
Well, some of that wing offense that used to run a lot, and maybe has made some appearances this year, can be a good offense to run against that. And I kind of like buck sweeps for that. I really do. If you can get it going, or
they're showing some they're showing some jet sweeps with Curitan, so that's another way. That's another option in the run game.
Right, exactly.
Besides LeMay.
So those are some things that you throw at that. On the other side is going to be how does Mallard Creek attack Butler, and I think you play smash mouth football. You really do. There are some advantages at the receiver and size, and sometimes you obviously have got to attempt to take some advantage of that,
right.
Throw some jump balls. But in the end, I think you got to lay it on your backs and your line. They've got a nice line. That line's got to step up and play football like they are built to play, and take over control of the ball game, because I really think that's where I really believe the game is going to, in the end, is going to be won right there across those lines.
Always is.
It always is, and this is going to be a perfect example of it. It's a hard game to call.
It is a hard game to call because we've been impressed with both of these teams all season long. The game will most likely be at Providence. Haven't seen anything official come out yet, but most likely at Providence.
Right.
That field. It's been through some stuff.
Exactly. Soccer and football, and the Butler Stadium cannot handle 4,000 people. So that's almost an automatic, unless Mallard Creek doesn't complain, that it has to be moved somewhere. And Providence is probably one of the more likely places, or Rocky River. Depending on if we're worried about field conditions, that would be a good place to move it to as well. That's obviously, they may have already made the decision. I haven't looked today to see. The report says Butler 30-24 is what the report is predicting.
Okay. Definitely one score game. I can see that.
Right. Yeah.
Either way.
I really think it's a toss up game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the game's going to get into the 30s. That's
I'd be surprised if
yeah.
you got that high.
You know, I'm thinking it's going to be upper teens to lower 20s is what I'm thinking, but who
So
knows?
when you got a close game, you look at special teams.
Right.
We saw what Duck did last week in the punt return game.
Can be very, very important.
Kicking game, we saw Butler's kicker has won a game before this season at Rocky River.
Right.
He won a game with a field goal. Mallard Creek's kicking game, you think it's solid?
I can't really say as far as if we get in a field goal situation, but they've got a good kicker, and their punt game is good.
Okay.
Their coverage is good. They should be able to flip field, which I think there's going to need to be a lot of that because I don't expect there to be a lot.
Field position is huge in this game. Huge.
So it's going to come down to those kinds of things. I think the base come down is going to be the line play. But when you have something in a close game, it's going to be one of these out of the ordinary, either some trick play that gets thrown in, or a big play that's made in the special teams on a return, a blocked field goal or something like that. But it's really this is a one score either way game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you see me or Brandon, say, hey, we'll be on the sidelines, doing our thing, covering the game. Be glad to hear from a lot of you guys that post. I'm not hard to find. I'm a big guy.
As you can see here, he's a pretty big guy. Okay. Well, thanks. I hope you guys have a great ball game and injury-free. Thanks for watching.